Hi, I wanted to show you today a couple of things about sheet good sandpaper. I have been doing this for a while and this is how I do it. It works really well for me. It's pretty simple, and if you just keep at this, what I'm going to show you consistently, you'll have really good success sanding. So first of all, I made my own sanding block. It consists mostly of a block of wood, and then I put cork on it and I glued that on. You can probably find that from office supply or a school supply store. So the cork just helps absorb that. But that's for sanding things flat. All right. So sandpaper comes in different grits. There's 80, 120, 220. It goes lower and it goes higher. The lower the number, the more strong it's going to remove. So that's 80 grits for like really roughly moving something, and you're going to really take off a lot of stuff that's coarse. 220 is finer, and that's going to be for fine sanding. So here's a piece of 120, and what you do to start off with is you take the sheet and you fold it in half so that the aggregate is in facing itself. Take your block of wood, crease it, then that pretty much breaks its back. Fold it back on itself. You can do this by hand. Now we're going to set this one aside. So for hand sanding, take the sandpaper and do a tri-fold. Try to make it even, but the part that you're folding should be less than the outside. And I'm going to show you why. We're going to fold this up. The reason why is so that when this is clogged with paint or wood, or it's worn down, you can fold it under and vice versa. When you take this and put it in the trifold and you're holding onto it, it won't slip and come apart. If you try to take a piece of sandpaper and fold it in quarters or halves, you'll find that it's always going to slip, and it's kind of aggravating, and you can't get a good sanding. Tri-fold it, that works really well. You can take this and break it down even further, but always do the tri-fold. Smaller and smaller. Okay, so here we have a half a sheet. We're going to fold that into quarters. Back on itself. Tears. I don't need scissors. It works really well this way. So this is how I determine the size of my sanding block. I take cork side and I put it about halfway, and then I roll it around, and then that gives me enough that I can hold onto it with my fingers. The length of the block is equal to 1/4 of the sandpaper, and then the width of the block is equal to this sandpaper rolling up on the edges. That way you get the maximum use of all the sandpaper. Now, there are times when I need to get into a narrow spot, so I'll sand like that. But for the most part, that's how I use this. Now, when I'm sanding, like this is a really rough surface, if I sand with the sanding block, all I'm going to get is the top of the mountain. I'm not going to get down in the valleys. So if I have a very irregular surface and I sand with the sanding block, it's only going to sand the top of the mountain. If I sand using the tri-fold method, that's going to also sand down in the valleys. So as the wood changes, or if it's metal, then this will contour with the surface. This won't. So if you want flat, sanding block. If you want contour, sanding tri-fold. Also, this works really well for doing around the edges to make that so that it's not sharp. This, you can do this if you want it to have like a 45 degree or a camphor. That's nice for design. But that's basically it. Trifold, sanding block. It's a good way to use sandpaper, and that's sheet goods.